Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Scott, and this is another My Bourbon Journey review. So if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate that. If you're new to this channel and you're looking for reviews of different whiskeys, such as bourbons, ryes, single malts on occasion, go ahead and consider hitting the subscribe button. Also hit the bell notification. That's simply going to alert you to when I'm doing new live streams, uploads, things along those lines. So today I'm doing a kind of a side-by-side. This is going to be for both batch 1 and 2 of Mic Drop. This is a product that's produced or sourced by PM Spirits, and they just released their batch number 2. They were nice enough to send me a sample of batch 2 for me to kind of do the side-by-side or a comparison of the two. So I wanted to do that today. So a little bit of information. Again, this isn't going to be so much as like a normal or a general review. It's more to kind of do a little bit of a side-by-side or a simple comparison of the two. Even though they do vary in certain types of things, it's not necessarily fair to either one of them as to trying to pick and choose, you know, one versus the other. I more want to get out to everybody maybe some of the differences of you know, both batch 1 and batch 2. So I thought I would go ahead and do that for you today. So let's start. We're going to go from left to right, and we'll start with batch 1 here. Batch 2 will be here. This is actually still just a bottle of batch 1, and I just put that up there for kind of appearance. But this in here is batch 2. So a little bit of information regarding batch 1. So again, this is a sourced MGP product. This is a mash bill or a blend of several barrels that they've put together. Mash bill being on batch 1, 75% corn, 21% rye, 4% malted barley. So proof on this is going to be a 112 proof. This is going to be an age-stated bourbon. This is going to be their 8-year-old bourbon. MSRP when this came out in 2017 was right around that $110 range. So you know, a fairly expensive you know, bourbon for the most part. So we'll kind of get into the review part, but a little information on batch 2. So this is going to be a single barrel for batch 2. So this was going to be a short run or a short barrel for batch 2. There were only, I believe, 140 bottles out of the barrel. So not very much regarding, you know, how many bottles there are available for batch 2. And batch 1, it was fairly significant. I believe there were like around 1,500 or so bottles of batch 1. So anyway, information regarding batch 2. Again, this is a sourced MGP product. Mash bill is identical to batch 1, which was again 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. However, the difference is here, this was a single barrel that they sourced. They didn't blend anything. Again, single barrel. Proof on this one is going to be 111 proof or 55.5% ABV. Age statement on this is significantly higher in age. This was a 13-year-old barrel, so we've got a little more age to batch 2. MSRP on this, so this is where it really changed significantly from batch 1, is that the MSRP on batch 2 is going to be $450. So a fairly steep price for batch number 2. So the bottle count again on this was only 140. Again, batch number 1, actually batch number 1, I've got to correct myself, was 3,358 bottles. I'm sorry. So why don't we kind of go ahead and we'll kind of get into the review or the side-by-side of the two, just again give you some comparisons, batch 1 versus batch 2. So like I try to do in most of the reviews and how I'll go through it is, we'll go through the appearance, we'll go through the nosing, the taste, the palate, things along those lines, and then just some general information regarding the channel and anything else following that. So let's go ahead and we'll get into this. So here we go with batch number 1. Again, this is going to be an 8-year several barrel blend of MGP sourced bourbon. So, really nice kind of, dark copper type of color to that. So hopefully that's kind of coming through a little bit. So, all right, let's get into the nose. All right, so right away you're getting hit with this nice kind of corn sweetness. A kind of a dark fruit type of note to that. Little bit of nuttiness to it. Really nice kind of rye spice, that butterscotch caramel wanting to kind of come through. Not a huge hit of rye or anything like that. Again, only being 21%. I shouldn't say only. I mean, that's a significant amount of rye. However, I'm not getting a lot of that kind of coming through. A little bit of oak kind of wanting to come through. I mean, at 8 years, blended, you're going to pick up some kind of oak to it, but very little heat kind of coming off on the nose. And again, I mean, this is a significant, proof on batch 1. I mean, this was 112 proof, but I'm not getting any of the ethanol or anything like that on the nose. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and we'll get into the taste. Cheers. All right, so what I'll do is I'll kind of get the palate coated here a little bit. I'll take one more sip. I mean, the initial thought is you're getting a fair amount of heat right away. Again, 112 proof. There's some substance to this. So, but that can be a bit of a shock when you kind of take a sip of something that's relatively high proof. It's letting you know that it's there, that there's some proof there. So let's give this another taste. Cheers. All right, so again, initial thought, a little bit matching the nose on this. Right away, you're getting hit with, a fair amount of oak. It's very dry right away. It feels like it's wanting to dry out the palate, leaving you with a little bit of those kind of leathery tobacco type of notes. There's a hint of sweetness as the finish starts to kind of develop. You're getting, those leather, the tobacco type of notes. There's a little bit of sweetness maybe on the mid palate. Fairly heavy on the oak side to me. Let's see what we've got. So, I mean, since it's kind of drying the mouth out, the finish is probably more on the medium side. So it's wanting to kind of go away a little quicker than I would really like. So let's see what else we get. Yeah, it's there's a little bit of that corn sweetness again there, but really, again, really heavy on the tobacco and leather. It's dry, oak, fairly, so if that's something that kind of works for you, that maybe it's not overly sweet by any means. It's got some proof. There is some heat to it. I'd say the more you start to drink, the heat starts to kind of go away a little bit. Finish-wise, again, it's really kind of staying very consistent across the board regarding the flavor profile. For me, relatively heavy oak, leather, tobacco kind of notes, and just that subtle kind of maybe dark fruit type of sweetness is there. So anyway, so that's what we've got for batch 1. And the finish, I would like for it to be a little bit longer than it is. It has a tendency to kind of dissipate fairly quickly and just kind of leave more of a dryness on the palate. So I like that. It's different than I kind of lean towards on most of the bourbons that I enjoy. It's a little more oaky, a little heavier on the leather and tobacco notes, but still a really nice, well-balanced, bourbon whiskey. So, all right, let's take a sip here. And I was saying before, this is going to be a 13-year-old MGP source bourbon. MSRP on this again, $450. So let's see what we've got with this one. So as you can see, I mean, this is very similar in color to batch number 1. Still that nice dark kind of amber color. Probably going to have some still maybe a little bit darker. I mean, this is a 13-year-old single barrel, so it should be picking up a few more of the characteristics from that barrel. So, all right, let's see what we've got. All right, so my first thought is, very much sweeter than batch number 1 on the nose. Really nice kind of rye spice to this. More rye coming through than in batch number 1 for sure, even though it's the same mash bill. Much sweeter. Those really nice dark fruits are wanting to kind of come through. Cherry specifically. Maybe even like a kind of a dark raspberry. The leather, tobacco type of notes kind of wanting to come through as well. So much different on the nose so far between the two. So let's give this a try. Cheers. Yeah, so right away, batch number 2, it's wanting to coat the mouth really well. Much sweeter than batch number 1. Those dark fruits are really wanting to come through. Butterscotch, even a bit of a honey note is kind of coming through. Yeah, just much, it's much more like refined. It's much more balanced. Well put together. I mean, again, we're dealing with a single barrel, so to try to compare the two is kind of difficult. I mean, they are night and day, as far as I'm concerned, so far. Yeah, it's a combination of really good sweetness. That rye spice is really wanting to come through again in this much more. The leather, the tobacco, again, those dark fruits. There's that honey note coming through, the butterscotch, vanilla. Fantastic bourbon, I would say this is. Finish, about the same as batch number 1, probably more on the medium side. Very little heat. Again, batch number 2 is only 1 proof, less than batch number 1, but you're not getting, it's much smoother, more refined, more like well put together. It's, you hate to say use the term honey barrel, but they may have been able to really pick and choose what they wanted, getting their flavor profile. But, batch number 2 is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's really what I would like to sit down and sip on. It's got some substance. There's still some proof to it. It's a little bit on the sweeter side, a good amount of rye spice. The oak is there. There's the leather, the tobacco. So there's all of these different layers that are there in batch number 2 that aren't necessarily there or as refined in batch number 1. So to me, just trying to do a comparison, if it's even fair to do that, I mean, batch number 2, hands down for me, is far more superior than batch number 2. So again, I mean, batch number 2 is, you know, close to $450, you know, MSRP retail, if you're even able to find it at this point. You know, there were only 140 bottles produced. So again, a really short run on these. So, however, you know, I just wanted to kind of do a little bit of a side-by-side just to give anybody an idea of, if you come across batch 1 or batch 2, you know, this is what each one of them kind of are bringing to the table. So, but for me, if I was going to pick one or the other, and I had the opportunity to pick one over the other, and price wasn't necessarily a factor, I would hands down choose batch number 2. So, you know, again, that's kind of what I wanted to do for everybody. So hopefully you'll get a little bit of something out of it. So check out some of the links in the description below. I'll have some stuff there regarding the channel, some other fun things down there as well. So like I like to say, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.